Hello, everybody, and welcome to Esri's GeoConX webinar series for utilities and telecommunications. Today's topic is field solutions for utilities and telecommunications. My name is Bill Meehan. I'll be one of your speakers today. My title is Director of Utility Solutions. I've spent almost 17 years here at Esri, but before that, I was running electric operations for a power company in the Northeast. And before that, I was head of engineering. So I've got a lot of experience in the utility business. Joining me today is Giovanni Solera, or as we call him, Geo. He's one of the account managers in the electric and gas and telecommunications account manager team. And also joining us today will be Matt Baber. He is a solutions engineer on the electric and gas and telecommunications team. This webinar is one of many of the webinars that we've given throughout 2018, and we call this the GeoConX webinar series. Why we're calling it GeoConX is because that's the term that we use for the electric, gas, and telecommunications community. So this webinar really is focused on our community of users. And we've had a number of webinars throughout the year, starting in March, on the complete GIS platform. Today, we're going to be talking about field mobility, and please tune in on October 10th, and actually register before that on October 10th for our webinar on analytics. All of the webinars will be recorded, and the link will be shared within a few days of the conference. We also want to invite everybody to the 2018 GeoConX Conference. This is an amazing conference that we've had for many, many years. It used to be called EGOG and TELOG, and then we've combined them together, electric, gas, and telecommunications. It'll be held in Dallas, Texas on November 5th. And it'll go all the way to the 8th. And this is an opportunity to share with your peers, to communicate with the staff, and really to see what's brand new at Esri and how it applies specifically to your industry. Also have a great opportunity to see some tremendous presentations. I think we have about 46 user presentations that are going to be held at this conference in Dallas. It's going to be very, very exciting. We're all very excited here at Esri. So please join us in Dallas on November 5th to the 8th, and registration is now open for that conference. So today we're going to be talking about the complete, or part of the complete GIS platform. So as we kind of presented during the year, we've talked about this. We've used this slide a number of times. So we think there are about these 5 elements of the complete GIS platform. The first one we call the system of engagement, and of course system of record. And many of you who have built GISs over the years, you've built a substantial system of record. And sometimes we talk about the system of record as the single source of truth for your electric grid system, including electric transmission and distribution. The newer one is called the system of insights, and that's really where we do analytics and we gain an additional understanding of what's going on in our system. And of course, next month for our analytics webinar, you'll hear a lot about system of insights. And also this notion of Internet of Things, the system for Internet of Things. This is where we bring in real-time data. And I think more and more we'll see GIS not be sort of a static system, but a real-time system. And finally, system for developers. There are many, many tools that Esri provides that will help our developers build solutions that sit on top of the ArcGIS platform. So today, we'll talk specifically about the system of engagement, which includes the field mobility. System of engagement isn't just limited to field mobility, but today we're going to talk about field mobility. And essentially what we're really saying is we need to engage not just the folks in the GIS department or even in the office, but literally everybody who is working in the utility. And actually not just working in the utility, but even outside the utility. That would include contractors, the media, customers, literally anybody who has some interest in the utility. So the agenda for today is the first point will be improving field operations. I'll be talking about that in a kind of general way. And then Geo will pick up on the overview of field solutions with ArcGIS. And both Geo and Matt will give examples and demonstrations of field mobility in 3 particular areas: electric, gas, and telecommunications. And then Matt will talk about setting up field solutions with ArcGIS, and then Geo will end with what's next with ArcGIS Field Solutions. And of course, then at the end, we'll have an opportunity to answer your questions. But before we begin, we want to find out what you're doing in mobile GIS and field operations. So we have just 3 easy questions. The first one is, and please only answer one question. The first one is, do you use mobile GIS in the field extensively? And by that I mean on tablets, on smartphones, and connected mode or disconnected mode for things like not just design, but inspection and maintenance and customer connections. So number one, do you really use mobile GIS in the field for many things? Number 2 would be, well, maybe a limited use of mobile GIS in the field. So for example, maybe you take out a laptop with a static picture or map of the field, of what's going on in the field. And then thirdly, are you mostly using paper in the field? So if you have a couple of applications, but mostly you're plotting out your maps and using them in the field. So please answer the third question. And we're going to wait a few minutes while people vote on this. So we have the winner, if there is such a thing as a winner in a poll, is limited use of mobile GIS in the field. So nearly half of you use GIS in the field kind of in a limited way. 34% said they use mobile GIS in the field in an extensive way. That's really great. So we're really happy about that. So we've been talking about GIS and what value it has for utilities in the field, and some of you have taken strong advantage of that. And even for the folks who have taken advantage of mobile GIS in the field in an extensive way, we hope this webinar will give you some new ideas, things that you hadn't really thought of. So that's really great. And still about a quarter of you still use paper maps in the field. So hopefully this webinar will give you an opportunity to look at your workflows and how you deal with things in the field, not just using paper. So thank you for that poll. That was really great. So let me talk about sort of my experience in improving field operations. So as I said earlier, my last job at the power company was head of electric operations. So I had literally all things to do with running a power system. That include power restoration, maintenance, inspection, construction, dispatching, you name it, all of the pieces involved with field operations. And I guess over the years, I've thought about what really makes a good field operation. You know, I'm a baseball and a football fan, and I think, you know, part of what makes a really good team certainly is talent, but also teamwork. I mean, teamwork is what really makes a good team. I think that's what separates very good teams from just sort of middle of the road teams. And I like to think of things in a simple way, and I think of what makes a good field operation are adherence to what I call the 3 C's: communication, collaboration, and coordination. And if you can, and even not just in field operations, but literally in any kind of where you have a lot of people working together, those 3's really make for good operations. And I believe that where field operations tend to have not as much coordination, collaboration, and communication is when we're heavily relying on paper or on sort of static devices. Because what you really need is this level of communication. Oh, sure, you can communicate by text messaging or cell phones, but you really don't have a good picture of what's going on. Yeah, you can take pictures and so forth, but by using mobile GIS, you really get the sense of, hey, I can really see what's going on. By looking at a map, somebody looks at a map in the office, somebody looks at a map in the field, and we can see the exact same thing. Or I do a red line in the field, and everybody in the company gets to see it. So that level of communication is really, really important. And when I ran electric operations, this notion of a coordination is very, very important, because I've got a bunch of people out in the field, I've got a bunch of people in the office, sometimes I have contractors, I have foreign crews, and that level of coordination can be very, very difficult. So if we're all working on the same page, that level of coordination becomes important. And then at the same time, especially during an emergency, during a storm, we're going to be seeing a storm coming very soon here in South Carolina. Our prayers are with the folks in South Carolina and North Carolina. We see this level of collaboration, and that really is different from coordination. Collaboration is people working together at the same time. So those are the kinds of things that we really need in field, and when in the field, to make a really good field operation. And when I was working for the power company, this is a while ago, we had a GIS, but it was primarily we would take the data from the GIS and map it and put it on a piece of paper. Then what we would do is we would hang those maps on the wall. We love to do that. And we did it for those three reasons: collaboration, coordination, and communication. But the problem, the wall is a barrier. And the CEO would come up to me and he would say, Bill, what's going on right now? And I would say, I know what's going on right now, but realistically, I didn't have a handle on exactly what's going on. I didn't have situational awareness. By having mobile, and not just a mobile device in the field with something on it, but having the ability to collaborate, communicate, and coordinate in real time, and even having analytics in the field, that's really, really powerful. So I'm going to hand it over to Geo, and he's going to pick up and give us a little bit more detail about some of the elements of field operations and field mobility. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. And hello to everyone watching. I'm really excited to be back for this field mobility webinar, since this is a topic that I'm always working on with customers. The nerdy and technical part of me always gets really excited since I'm really interested in mobile GIS. Matt just gets all excited because he's all nerdy. Just kidding, Matt. Matt's actually a really bright guy, and we go way back, so I like to bother him. Now, field mobility is a big part of our ArcGIS platform and is one of the most useful and important aspects of many utility GIS solutions. As simple as it might sound, making sure that both the field and the office are able to effectively communicate with each other and have the right information at their fingertips is crucial and critical to utilities. But this can be facilitated through informative and simple to use mobile applications. Not only is an effective application important, but also an effective mobile workflow. Having both gives utilities benefits like increased communication, collaboration, awareness, operation efficiencies, coordination, and improved data gathering, just like Bill was just talking about. Then those workflows, so these workflows pretty much normally work in 5 stages, with good planning being the first. ArcGIS Desktop allows us to plan out the information that needs to be disseminated, along with what information can or cannot be edited, among other things. From there, you need applications that allow you to continue to plan, track, coordinate, and disseminate those tasks and information. That's where Workforce for ArcGIS can come into play and help you have a simple and easy way to do all this, as well as facilitating the use of the appropriate mobile applications that need to be used. Not only is knowing what work needs to be done essential, you also need to know where and how to get to those important assignments, such as through Navigator for ArcGIS, which allows individuals to navigate to specific assets and even custom routes, such as through access roads that might not be available in other commercial navigation solutions. This application can be key for visiting crews, such as when natural disasters occur, like hurricanes, forest fires, tornadoes, and ice storms. Once at the job site, there may be information that has to be gathered, from routine jobs like cathodic or pole inspections to the non-routine tasks like damage assessments. There are different applications and solutions that can support those tasks at hand, like Explorer, Collector, and Survey 123. The use of these applications depends on the various requirements and variables that are needed from the customer's workflow. For example, both Collector and Survey 123 can easily be used to replace legacy paper workflows, but depending on the customer's requirements, one might suit the customer better than the other. In the past, I've talked to some customers that at first didn't like the idea of not having one custom application to do everything, but I actually see that as a strength. Rather than creating heavy custom applications that can be hard to manage, upgrade, and maintain, as well as being costly, let's instead use commercial off-the-shelf applications that are lightweight, system agnostic, and that can be configured for different use cases. Let's create lightweight and simple applications around the role rather than the staff around the application, and stop building what we like to call appzillas. So as this information is collected and new data is sent back in, It allows us to analyze and monitor those events in real time through dashboards that bring new insights and that can influence the planning of future work or applications, thus creating this circular workflow. Let's take a poll now, and then we'll share with you our experiences and insights into what some of your peers are doing with GIS and field mobility. As always, like Bill mentioned earlier, we hope that you see value in these use cases and bring them back to your organizations. So the question of the poll is, which of the ArcGIS solutions apps are you using today? The first one is Collector and Explorer or Survey123, those actual mobile applications. The second one is, are you also using Workforce for ArcGIS? And if so, are you also using Navigator for ArcGIS to navigate to those work assignments? And if you're using none of them, then please select none as well. We'll give some time for people to submit their answers. Okay, so we see that a large percentage of you are using Collector and Explorer and Survey123, but not so many are using Workforce for ArcGIS and Navigator. So it's interesting that before there was a limited amount of, or 34% using extensive and 45% using limited and 26% paper, but then we also see a high percentage none with 53 as well. So that kind of aligns with earlier when we were saying that a lot of people or certain people were using paper. If that could also contribute to maybe also using business partner applications. But we hope that you also see the value of Workforce for ArcGIS and Navigator and kind of give you ideas how Workforce and Navigator can be incorporated into those other applications for those 47% that are using Collector, Explorer, and Survey 123. So let's move on. First, let's cover electric utilities, whose use of mobile applications can span from simple maps for viewing assets to more advanced workflows that allow field personnel to capture and collect data from their mobile devices while streaming additional awareness information like weather data or crew locations and outage information, thus feeding data back and forth from the office to the field. Those field crews can then themselves become part of the IoT of utilities and telecoms by feeding information back into the GIS. In this slide, you can see some of those common uses and applications for mobile GIS in electric utilities. But other common use cases also include substation, pole, tower inspections, joint use inventories, damage assessments, meter replacements or inspections, map change requests or redlining, as well as outage, weather, and disaster awareness maps. With Hurricane Florence expected to hit the East Coast and the many forest fires in the West, it's easy to see why field mobility for emergency response and damage assessment is so important and valuable to utilities. Avangrid on the East Coast is tackling damage assessments through Collector to support their emergency response work. Avangrid's damage assessors take iPads with data plans and Collector into the field to report those damages. Collector's map-based interface improves the non-spatial application that they had been using before, saving them time and money and resulting in greater accuracy. Back in the office, Avangrid event leaders use high-level dashboard viewers to summarize that collected information or data, including the total down primary and secondary wires, leaking or broken transformers, and other asset status information. This helps with restoration efforts and helps Avangrid have an increased awareness of what is happening in the field. Another great use case is in Texas, where Floresville Electric Light and Power System is doing asset inventory using Survey 123 for ArcGIS compared to their older paper workflows. Utility field crews are not the only ones that can benefit from these mobile solutions. Contractors can also use our solutions to do field inspections like UK Power Networks did when their contractors inspected 47,000 assets with Collector for ArcGIS, cutting their workforce requirements by half. When utilities rely heavily on contractors for fieldwork, making sure that those workers get the right tools and collect the right information in the right format that the utility wants is really important. Cleaning up data that was incorrectly captured can be a big pain point for utilities that can cost lots of time and money. Not only that, but it also affects the analysis and decision making that is done on the business side. Having advanced spatial analysis tools through ArcGIS won't do you any good if the data that you have can't be used or is wrong. Therefore, giving everyone, including contractors, easy to use tools that will help ensure that that data is collected in the right manner can be incredibly valuable and important. GIS field mobility can also be applied to all parts of electric utilities, from generation to distribution. Take, for example, Salt River Project, who is using Collector for ArcGIS to do vegetation management on their transmission lines. NNL, who is using drone and mapping applications to do inspections on their solar generation assets. I'm going to pass the presentation to Matt now so that we can actually see how some of these mobile use cases would work and look like through our mobile applications.
Thanks, Gio. Let me pop back over to Portal real quick. So I'm going to quickly show you guys how to configure a web map and share it to the field. Now, like with all the examples I'll be sharing with you today, this is wrapped into a story for a specific industry, in this case, electric distribution. But these patterns can be applied to many use cases across any industry. For this first example, I am a GIS analyst tasked with replacing the large, bulky, outdated map books in our trucks. For this, I want to use a lightweight, mobile, disconnected viewer application. But the first step to creating any field mobility solution begins at the portal. Here, I can come to access all of my organization's content. So now I'm going to open up the map editor. So when I open this up, I'm presented with a blank web map. This is where I will create the map that will be used in my lightweight viewer. So let's take a look and really make this look and feel like something my field users would actually want. So something that we get a request for a lot here is aerial imagery. It's much easier to orient yourself out in the field when you have aerial imagery. It's just more intuitive to understand than something like a topo map like I have here that is useful for specific uses. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and change my base map from this topo base to a aerial imagery. Give this just a second. There we go. So now I have aerial imagery with some easy to understand labels that my field crews have come to really like in their maps. So the next thing I want to do is search my organization for the relevant content and layers that I want to put into this map. Give it some meat. So I'm going to go and search through within my organization for our distribution facilities, and I'm going to add them right into this map. So this is actually fetching our proprietary data and putting it on top of this base map in a very lightweight, web and mobile friendly fashion, but I'm not quite done yet. There's a few more steps I need to take before I can start sending this out. But everything I've done so far is pretty straightforward and easy. So now I'm going to save this map. I'm going to call this map book replacement. I'm going to tag it as map book and go ahead and save it. So now that I've spent all this time curating this map, I've saved it so I have it for future use. And the last step before I bounce out of here and go into the field as a field user is to share it to the appropriate people. Now I could choose to share it to everyone and make it a public map, or just my organization or individuals and groups within my organization. I'm just going to go ahead and make this available to everyone within our org and click done. And that's all there is to creating a web map and getting it ready to be consumed in a mobile application. So let's bounce out to the field and see what this looks like in use in practice. So here I'm looking at my mobile device, and I'm a field user now. So here I have my device with a selection of out-of-the-box Esri apps, and I'm going to use Explorer for ArcGIS as that lightweight disconnected mobile viewer that we discussed. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to refresh my maps, and now I'm going to search for the one I just made. Called it map book replacement. There it is. Going to go ahead and open this up. And it's going to have the same base map and the same data that I created in the back office now here with me in the field in my truck. And I can download this to my device and sync up edits whenever I'm in a connected environment, but I have it with me wherever I go. And if I was actually in Westerville, Ohio, which I'm not, I'm in sunny California right now, I would see where I am approximately on this map and all of the things around me. And because I have that aerial imagery, it's much more easier to orient myself, and I have all of this data at my fingertips. So let's take this the next step. Let's say that I have a call and I need to respond to it, or I have a need to be able to place a pin on a map and navigate there. So let's say I want to get to this area right here. So I just quickly drop a pin on the map and I click directions. So here I have two options. Now I could use my device's native navigation app, but I'm going to use Navigator for ArcGIS. This is Esri's flavor of navigation. It does everything you would expect with a disconnected mobile navigation and turn-by-turn voice directions, but it also allows an organization to configure how their field crews navigate, including using their own road network for unique access routes, and of course overlay their infrastructure. As you can see, all the poles and streetlights around me as I'm navigating. So this allows for a common operating view regardless of application you use. So with that, I'm going to turn things back over to you, Geo. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Now let's take a look at how gas utilities are benefiting from field mobility. Gas operations can also take advantage of GIS mobile applications for viewing, data gathering, and location tracking. There are additional use cases for field mobility that are not listed, like track and traceability, leak surveys, cathodic inspections, damage reports or exposed pipe reports, map notes and map change requests, gas lights and gas relights, sorry, and as-built mapping, among others. A gas industry specific use case that we can take a look at is the gas plastic fusion weld app that Avangrid implemented. Avangrid is using Collector for ArcGIS to gather information on their plastic fusion welds. That information is then sent back to monitoring and dashboards and recorded, which helps them keep up with regulations as well. Another great use case is at Fort Hill Natural Gas, who is a gas utility based out of Easley, South Carolina. Fort Hill Natural Gas is using mobile applications along with high accuracy GPS units to track the progress of their projects like pipeline extension projects. This allows management to see the progress of the work to see if they are behind or ahead of schedule, along with creating detailed records for regulatory compliance. This, along with their other ArcGIS mobile solutions, is helping field crews complete work faster and more accurately than any other system the utility has tried. Workers with all levels of experience have picked up the mobile workflows quickly. Fort Hill has also noted that they have had huge time savings that equate to large money savings. It has eliminated the need to print certain maps, and employees have a greater access to the information that they need without relying on colleagues. Real-time information is also accessible, whereas with the legacy system, that was not possible. Thus, their efficiency has improved, and Fort Hill Natural Gas has exceeded their goals. Another use case that we would like to highlight is at Peoples Gas. Peoples Gas is a gas utility based in Chicago, Illinois, who, like earlier discussed, has been using a combination of our applications to create smooth workflows that work for their needs. They used Workforce, Collector, and Survey 123 to replace paper workflows on their facility inspections like gate station components, district regulator stations, and valves, among other facilities. This was done to replace or reduce their filing cabinets, which were full of paper, which made it difficult to retrieve and audit paper records, not to mention the issues that came along with lost paperwork. So Peoples Gas started with vault inspection runs and just regular maintenance work. Through the 3 applications, they were able to easily and quickly deploy mobile digital workflows that require little training. Their work assignments were handled through Workforce for ArcGIS, their digital forms through Survey 123, and when a facility record needed to be modified, such as their location or attribute data needed to be changed, then Collector was used to do so. Therefore, they were able to create stream workflows with just using those 3 applications. I'm going to chuck it over to Matt once more, who's going to walk us through an example of how leak survey might be done through Collector for ArcGIS and Operations Dashboard. Matt?
Thanks, Giovanni. Yeah, so let me pop back over to my mobile device real quick. There we go. So in this example, we're going to look at our configured gas leak survey solution. Now, this can be found on our solutions page, solutions.arcgis.com. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but we're going to take a look at the field portion of things. So I'm going to begin as a field user conducting a gas leak survey. So for this, I'll be using Collector for ArcGIS. This is a map-centric mobile data collection application made available by Esri. Now, there is a lot going on here. I'm seeing both our underground pipes as I walk along my route, but I'm also seeing all this other stuff, such as this trail of green dots that I'm leaving behind as I walk my route. So I'm leaving behind this breadcrumb style trail, as we can see here, and I zoom in. So, this allows me to see where I've been. So it's no longer guesswork if I'm walking along a route, say through a windy neighborhood. I can just simply review my past steps and see where I've been at a glance. So my management also has an idea of how far along in my survey I am. So in addition to breadcrumb collection, I also have a variety of new data types that I can collect as I walk along my route. So I'm not just alerting of where I find gas leak anomalies, but I'm also collecting useful information that can relate back to our office. For instance, if I'm no longer able to continue along my route in this direction due to an obstruction such as a street closure, I can simply grab an access issue and drop it down right where I can no longer continue and go ahead and just submit this back to the office. So they understand that I was no longer able to continue this route due to an access issue, and then I'm along my way. And so my manager now has all the information he needs to be able to plan accordingly. So where exactly is all this data going as I'm collecting it? Well, let's take a look at where this data is going, get an idea of what we're doing here. So I'm going to go back over to my portal environment, and I'm going to open up my leak management dashboard. So back in the office, all this information is being consolidated in an operations dashboard for ArcGIS. This is an important note because we are using a variety of mobile applications to complete the work, but they are all part of the same enterprise system. So this allows for all data collected to flow into a singular source to be used across our organization. For example, this dashboard amasses all the incoming gas leak data from the field techs like myself and consolidates them into a reporting dashboard. So this allows an operations manager to get an idea of how far along we are in this effort at a glance, and any issues like that access point that I collected would also be made available to him or her to be able to plan out accordingly, what we need to do to bypass that issue and complete our survey on time. And so with that, I'm going to pass it back over to you, Gio.
Thank you, Matt. Let's jump into field mobility among telecommunications. Telecoms benefit from the same overarching capabilities and patterns of use that electric and gas utilities do as well. Just like other utilities, having an up-to-date network viewer can be very valuable for communicating, collaborating, and coordinating with field personnel. But although telecoms can benefit from mobile applications that apply to electric and gas utilities like hazard reporting and map nodes applications, they can also utilize GIS field mobility for more industry-specific applications and solutions like door-to-door sales campaigns, point of sales maps, and service qualification maps, all of which can help with business development efforts. We also realize that many organizations have different names for those solutions. So let me explain that point of sale solution calculates the cost of extending services to a new business or customer in the field. And our service qualification application enables planners and sales staff to understand the feasibility and also the cost of providing services to a customer location or new areas. As for the door-to-door sales campaign solution, it helps sales departments optimize and manage door-to-door sales activities, but we would actually like to highlight HTC's door-to-door sales solution. HTC is a telecommunications company based out of Horry County, South Carolina. who implemented a door-to-door sales solution with Operations Dashboard, Explorer, and Survey 123 to record and manage targeted locations, the work that each salesperson did, the success of those locations, and gathering marketing, temporal, and statistical data for analysis and research. Survey 123 was used because it allowed them to have an easy and portable application that allowed their staff to track and record the location of their work, as well as easily share that information. This information then feeds their door-to-door sales dashboard that allows management to track and monitor sales teams. This information was also available in their Explorer for ArcGIS applications that allowed them to easily see all the surveys and get a better spatial awareness of what was happening in the field when they were out. Post-analysis of the data then is gathered and can be used to evaluate and assess the success rates for different sales areas. Moving forward, they're going to be setting up some machine learning algorithms to provide business intelligence in order to predict patterns as well. I'm going to turn it over to Matt one last time so that he can show us how a door-to-door sales solution might look like for any other telecom. Matt?
Thanks, Geo. So I'm going to ask you guys to bear with me for 1 second, because I know what you're thinking. This is ArcGIS Pro. What is a desktop application doing in a demo about field mobility? Well, this is actually a very important part of any field mobility workflow. It's the back office prep, something that should never be overlooked. And so in this example, I'm assuming the role of a GIS analyst in charge of assisting the sales team to make their efforts as effective as possible in the field. So to accomplish this goal, I have gathered some relevant data here, and I'm going to show you as I go through, how I do my analysis and what that means for the people in the field. So here I have an export of leads from our customer information system. I'm just going to pull these onto the map as prospects. So what I did before I got on here with you folks today is I turned all these prospects into assignments in Workforce. So once I converted all these to be used in Workforce for ArcGIS, that's our easy to use mobile app for task assignment we'll take a look at here in a second. I did a couple of more things. So I gathered additional information in the form of our sales territories that I could bring in here, but I also brought in a demographics layer from Esri's Living Atlas, which is a vast collection of curated data made available by Esri to all of our customers. So why did I do this? Well, I'm a GIS analyst working at this telecom, and we currently have an ongoing sales campaign to sell international packages. So I want to focus on international demographics. So I'm going to click on Matt Baber's sales territory here, and I'm going to get some interesting information. I can see that his territory is actually an international marketplace, which means that this is significantly high international population in this territory compared to the surrounding areas. So I want to select all of Matt's assignments and add a note that he should offer free international package for 12 months. So to accomplish that, I'm going to go ahead and select for Matt's territory. And I'm going to do a select by location and say I want to find all of the assignments within the sales territory. Okay, there we go. So I've selected all of Matt's assignments that fall into this nice boundary of an international marketplace. So next, I'm going to add in a note here. So do a really simple field calculation. All I'm going to say is offer free international package for 12 months and apply that. So here in the note field, we can see that note that I just entered. So, but what does that really mean? What did I accomplish here? Well, I used some data available to me as a GIS analyst and created assignments out of that data and then augmented it using new insightful information that I gathered from a third party. So let's take a look at what this actually does for us in the field. So I'm going to go ahead and pop over to my mobile device. And so when I'm going to open Workforce again, and as I open this and I'm a sales rep in the field now, I see that all the assignments for my sales territory, if I click on one of these, now has a note that says offer free international package for 12 months. This is that result of that back office analysis. And now I'm seeing it here in the field, and it's actually going to affect how I approach these sales opportunities. So this shows just how easy it is to share back office analysis into the field using mobile apps such as Workforce, because we're all connected through web services. So this is a fantastic way to create tasks and assign them to field crews and include notes and work order IDs. And these things actually persist throughout the workflow, like we saw when I went from Pro to Workforce, but also from Workforce to any other mobile app. For example, let's say I come up to this house and I'm ready to conduct my prospecting survey. So I'm going to click on Survey at this assignment, and it's going to open up Survey 123 for ArcGIS. This is Esri's out-of-the-box form-centric data collection application, and it pre-populates it with data from Workforce. As you can see, the work order ID has been auto-generated from Workforce, and I had that note that told me that I should offer these folks 12 months free of our international package. So I go in with a lot of pre-existing information to give me the best chance pursuing this sales opportunity. So Survey 123 is a wonderful replacement for paper forms, as it allows for such things as dynamic questions. So that is to say that if I did not knock on the door, nothing happens. So if I say, nope, I did not knock on this door for one reason or another, maybe I got chased off by a dog, my form stays unchanged and I'm allowed to submit it. But if I say yes, all of a sudden more questions begin popping up. These are nested questions that are dependent on the answers to questions further up in the survey. And so as I go through these and I answer yes or no to various other questions, I'm getting more and more feedback from my form. So what does this do? Well, this allows me to fill out just as much of the form as is required given the circumstances I experience in the field, which ultimately means that I'm having to do less work if it's a very simple yes or no question that I'm having to fill out. But should I have to fill out more information, this form allows me to do that on response. So I'm not having to do more work than is required. So field techs really love that aspect of this. And so as with the other applications I've shown you today, it is just another application in the platform, and all of my data is being sent back to my organization's enterprise system. So with that, I'm going to pop back over to our presentation for a minute, and we're going to talk a little while about how to get started with this stuff. So the most frequent question we get here at Esri is how to get started with using ArcGIS field solutions. So how do you get started with these things? Well, that answer is really in two parts. So the first is to set up an enterprise environment. So how this is set up and where is up to you. But this is the first step. Get that enterprise environment deployed and begin organizing and managing your content within that environment. The second part is to begin configuring some of the out-of-the-box mobile applications made available by Esri. So these are free to download and work with ArcGIS logins to be given authenticated, secure access to the configured information products and workflows built within that enterprise environment. That's why that's the first step. And now we're going to talk a little bit about, where we're going. So we talked about what some of these solutions look like, how to get started with them, but we're a tech company. We're continuously making improvements to our technology. We're always looking into the future and what's to come. So let's talk a little bit about things you guys have to look forward to. So first, ArcGIS indoors. So where is Esri taking its practice of mobile workflows? We're looking at things like ArcGIS Indoors, which allows for the mapping of indoor spaces as the name implies. But once that space is mapped out, it becomes a part of that enterprise environment that we discussed before. This allows for doing all sorts of really, really cool things like indoor navigation on mobile devices. Advancements in mobile 3D technologies allow for much more than just viewing 3D scenes on a mobile device. While that's very, very interesting, this paves the way for Esri and our partners to develop augmented and virtual reality mobile applications utilizing 3D GIS data. So some of you may have heard about a new update coming to Collector. This is an ongoing project here at Esri. This new application will be better integrated into our platform and be designed for new advancements in GIS technologies, such as vector tiles. So that's a very exciting update. So finally, some of you may also have heard about something called Quick Capture. So Quick Capture for ArcGIS is a new application being offered by our Esri Labs group. So this is our testing group for new applications that we believe our customers may find useful. And if they gain enough traction, will eventually become a supported Esri app. Survey 123, for instance, started in this Esri Labs group, for example. So Quick Capture is designed for rapid field data collection, and this lends itself well for things like aerial surveys or drive-by inspections. Instead of just talking about this one, let's actually crack it open and take a look at what a configured Quick Capture app might look like. So one last time, I'm going to pop back open my mobile device here, and we're going to open up Quick Capture. And as you can see on the bottom right of my applications, it has the Esri Labs sticker on it. So I know that even though I downloaded this from the store, it's an Esri Labs application. So here I have my aerial inspection application that I've configured for today within Quick Capture. So like everything else I've shown you today, this app has been configured for a particular workflow, in this case, aerial inspection of a transmission line, but it represents a more broad pattern of use that can be applied to several different workflows over multiple industries. So while we're doing this Quick Capture aerial inspection from a helicopter, I of course am not in a helicopter right now, but we can take a look at how this would work. So I have these big buttons for single-click data capture. So for instance, we fly over a section of our line that's sagging a little bit too low. I can simply click line sag, and it'll capture a photo. And down in the bottom right, we can actually see what my camera is seeing. And here's my water bottle. So we're pretending that's our line sag. And then next to that camera in the bottom right to the bottom left is my approximate location displayed on a map. So I can see where I am as I go along. So as I'm collecting points and basic attribute information that's being grabbed from my device, like that photo and things like my bearing and speed and approximate altitude, this application, like other Esri applications, can be configured with Bluetooth connected receivers for high accuracy GPS and collection, and even external cameras. Say if I have a camera on the bottom of my helicopter in this case, or if I'm doing a four-wheeler drive-by inspection of a pipeline, I might have a camera on the side of my four-wheeler. Anything that I really want to configure into this application, I have the ability to do that and capture things with these one-button clicks. So let's say I fly over another section of line that has a row issue or right-of-way issue. I'm just pressing these buttons with a single click, capturing information and photos without having to pause or set anything up like I would have to do in collector or survey. This is because Quick Capture is specifically designed to be able to capture information in a rapid format. So I'm not having to fill out a bunch of attribute information that can be very useful for when I'm filling out a survey, for example, or if I'm collecting leak surveys within collector, things that require a lot of attribute information. This is simply alerting our back office staff to problems that I discover while doing an aerial inspection. So if I click on trimming required here, I'm now, I just activated trimming capture. This will begin collecting a new line and drop a vertex in my line at an interval that I specified when setting this up. This allows me to capture a section of our transmission line that may require trimming. Now this is interesting because I'm capturing multiple geometries, both lines and points, easily with one click. This can even work with polygons should you need that functionality. So like some of our other Esri apps, this works fully disconnected, and we can simply sync our edits back to the office to be consumed in other applications. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here I have another dashboard that this information is being streamed into, but really it can come into any other GIS application or to be extracted from the GIS into another business system to generate things like work orders for vegetation or anything else really that you can think of. So as I pan around here, again, I'm not a helicopter pilot. I just capture this information on my daily drive to work every day. So this is kind of what this stuff looks like as it's being streamed in. But by now, I'm sure you're all tired of hearing my voice. So I'm going to actually turn things back over to you, Giovanni.
I'm sure we're not tired of listening to you, Matt. So thanks, Matt. So if you see how any of these solutions can be applied into your own organizations, then you might be asking yourself, what's next? We provided a few next step recommendations below. First, we recommend that you configure a mapping portal for your organization, since this will be essential for your ArcGIS mobile applications, whether it's through ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. Next, we also recommend that you convert a current workflow to a digital format, like some of the ones that you may have seen today, or new ones. If you end up doing something that you think is unique and valuable to others, then we encourage you that you tell us about it or you post it on GeoNet for others in our ArcGIS utility community to see. We also recommend that you look to pair more ArcGIS field applications together to create kind of those streamlined workflows. We also strongly recommend that you attend one of our Esri MOOCs. MOOCs stands for Massive Open Online Courses. There's currently a MOOC going on that's called Do It Yourself Geo Applications that's available from September 5th to October 4th. Now, we realize that it has already started, but it's not too late for you to sign up and for you to take them. There are no prerequisites and are free, so they're a great way to get involved and learn more about our technology. Last of all, we recommend that you talk to your Esri representative about field solutions with ArcGIS, or email us at geoconxinfo@esri.com with questions or whichever works best for you.
Thanks, Geo. Well, we had heard a lot of really great workflow-related information, and I go back to the 3 C's, and both Geo and Matt talked about collaboration, coordination, and communication. Those are the 3 C's that make really for a good improved workforce. There's 3 other A's that I think we ought to think about as well that I like to talk about, and that's really the basis of the ArcGIS platform, which is access, awareness, and analytics. Matt talked a lot about analytics and access and awareness. And so what I'd like to do now is to move to the questions that we had displayed on the screen. Thank you for asking those questions. And so I'm gonna read those questions, and we're gonna be answering the questions as we see. So let's talk. Let's get some of those questions online. Now, Matt kind of talked about this a little bit, but I think maybe this question was asked before. It says, I heard that Collector was being changed or reworked. Can you tell me more about what is happening with Collector? So Matt, can you just provide a little bit more information about that new Collector app?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of you guys might have heard of the new Collector app being called Project Aurora. So that's kind of our loving code name that we gave to it as it goes through its development process. And what it essentially will be is a brand new Collector app. It's not actually going to be an update to Collector. So on the same day that we release it, it will be called Collector for ArcGIS, and an update will be sent out to the existing Collector that will rename it to Classic. And this allows for those customers that are using Collector today to experience no interruptions to their workflows as they migrate from Collector Classic to the new version of Collector for ArcGIS. The reason we're having to do this is because we are changing a lot of the underpinning technologies to Collector, bringing it up to date to be more modern and fit in with newer innovations with GIS and technology in general, to be able to take advantage of things like vector tiles that we mentioned earlier. You can also expect a newer, enhanced user interface, as well as quality of life and usability enhancements.
Thanks, Matt. The next question is from our gas customers, or one of our gas customers. What software do I need for the gas leak solution? Matt, can you take this one as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that. So like with all of the workflows that I showed today, with the exception of Navigator, everything else Esri customers have access to. So every Esri customer has an ArcGIS Online organization with at least one named user, as it just comes with our software. And everything that I showed would work with that ArcGIS Online organization acting as your enterprise portal. And then all of the applications I showed just consume a named user. So that specific solution for gas leak survey can be found on our solutions page, again at solutions.arcgis.com. It's just downloaded and configured and will run with the named user and ArcGIS Online order that you have today.
Thanks, Matt. Our next question has to do with we may not get service in on our phones. So the question is like this: there are parts of our service territory where we don't get great service. I'm assuming in cell service. So what happens with the mobile application if we lose connectivity? Geo, can you want to take this?
Sure. Thanks, Bill. So yes, so our applications such as Collector, Server 123, Navigator, Explorer can all have offline capabilities. The customer would just download those the data and the base maps and the information, networks, and everything into the mobile device. So whenever the field person's in the field, and let's say they lose cell connectivity, they would just use the data that's stored on the device. So they would still have it on there for them to perform the tasks that they need to. Now, what would happen is that whenever that field personnel goes back into an area of connectivity, then they can choose to upload and sync that data back up.
All right, thanks, Gio. So basically, even though you lose connectivity, you still get, it's like on your Outlook. Once you get connectivity, you just get the thing, it'll just sync right back in again. That's great. Next question is about Navigator. And the question goes like this: can I use my own networks or data for Navigator? I can take that one, of course. That's the whole notion of this ArcGIS platform. Once you create your data, it is really available both in Navigator, Explorer, Survey 123, on the web, on the desktop. It's basically one map that's really portable. It can be used on any application. Here's another question for Geo, I think. Do you have any statistics around time or cost savings with the ArcGIS field solutions? And I'm going to hand it over to Geo.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. That one is a little trickier just because everybody is different. Everybody's workflows are different. How the previous workflows might have functioned to this current workflows are going to be very different. So there's not a set like statistic where it says you'll save X amount, of money or X amount or percentage in reduced times. We do have some statements or actual facts and stats that have been given or provided to us from other utilities. These applications are also used in other industries. So some of the information that we've gathered is from not utilities. So for example, like Prima County has stated that they're saving $197,000 per year on mileage and inspections using Navigator. CoServe we did a case study on them, and they reported increases of, I think it was 150% in how fast they were able to do their lighting inventory. So there are stats like that we can provide, but something specific or something general is going to be a little bit tough just because it kind of goes on a case-by-case scenario, and how much saving equates onto a small utility is going to be very different than what it equates to on a large utility.
Great, thanks, Gio. I would just add a quick note. When I was working for the power company, we had maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 people in the GIS department and nearly 1,500 people in the field. So you're going to get a lot of productivity enhancements by just improving field operations. Well, thank you very much. That's all the time we have now for questions. And we hope that you've enjoyed this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you on October 10th, I believe, for our very interesting webinar on analytics, which will teach you how and what this data really means. Again, have a great day, and look forward to hearing you and seeing you on the 10th. And we look forward to seeing you at our GeoConX conference in Dallas, Texas. Take care, and goodbye.